Hey everyone, Board Game Brody here with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table, like this one, Nocturne by AEG and Flatout Games. This is a game about collecting the best collection of available items to score points and using your spell tokens to almost kind of bid for certain items. The game is played over 2 rounds, and players will be taking turns to either cast a spell placing one of their tokens on a tile or passing, and this is done until a tile is won. This process repeats itself until all tiles are claimed. So you are aiming to complete goals. There will be 3 different goals each round: concoctions, which grant points for the type of items that you collect, and for the points awarded by each type of items themselves. The round starts with the player placing their lowest numbered spell token on any tile. The next player then either chooses a higher spell token to place to a tile orthogonally adjacent to the current one, or decides to pass. All tokens remain on the tiles until a player wins a tile, so there might be a snake of tokens forming, and you can only have 1 token on a tile at a time. Once all players have passed, the player who last cast the spell with the highest value token takes that item tile, flips over their spell token, and places it face down in that space left by the removal of that tile. That player now loses that value token for the next round, but gains that tile. All players will retrieve their unsuccessful spell tokens, and they must choose to either place them back into their play area to use at some point, or to dedicate one that they use to the forest sprite board to potentially gain a tile from there. Tokens are placed from highest to lowest, and then depending on how many players you have, that will dictate how many tiles are out there and how many players will take them from highest to lowest. The player who won the most recent tile is the new starting player, and they will cast the next spell. And this sequence begins over again and over again. When going again, you can place any spell token you'd like, but now it needs to be orthogonally adjacent to the tile that you just won. The first player who completes one of their Twilight goals will win that card worth the points shown on it for that first round. And eventually, players will have less tokens to use, and the board will eventually look something like this. The forest sprite board will look like this. And starting with the spell token in the highest spot and proceeding to the lowest, those players take turns drafting the tiles remaining on that board. And after the first round, the shadow spell tokens are awarded to players who have any leftover spell tokens. This will be based on their values, and so starting with the highest value, that player will receive the highest shadow spell token, and so on. Players retrieve all of their other spell tokens, and for each shadow spell token that a player receives, they will have to discard the lowest spell token, replacing it. The next set of 3 goals are flipped over for the second round. Tiles come out to make the board again, and the forest sprite board is set up again with tiles according to the number of players in the game. Play continues similar to the first round, except with the new goals. They can now be claimed by all players. Shadow tokens will be used, but do not count them as players' individual spell tokens, so they can't be sent to the forest sprite board or be counted toward the goal card. Once all tiles have been won, the second round ends and the forest sprite board is resolved a second time, and then it's time for scoring. Players will assign their mirror stones to the tile that they want to make copies of, and then scoring will be done. Let's talk about the skulls first. These will list the amount of points, straight up points for these tiles, and you earn them with doing nothing else. The Firebird Feathers score a number of points based on how many you have shown on those tiles. There are 2 types of mushrooms. This type here scores 9 points if you have 2 of them, 0 points for 1, and this type scores 13 points if you have 3 of them, 0 points if you have 2 of them, and 3 points if you have 1. Herbs will score the sum of the points printed on those tiles, plus a bonus for a set of 3, 4, or 5 unique herbs, with the wild counting as any type. The player with the most mysterious eggs scores 4 points per each egg tile, and the player with the second most will score 3 points per each egg tile. Third will be 2 points per tile, and the fourth will be 1 point per egg tile. The cursed treasure chest gives -1 point, but when collected at the time that you picked it up, you will draw 3 tiles and choose one of those to keep. Ancient Rhinestones lets players draw 3 concoction cards and choose 1 to keep. These concoctions will score points if you are able to brew the symbol shown on this card. Twilight and Moonlight gold cards are then added to each player's score, and any leftover spell tokens score 2 points each. If playing with character abilities, if you did not use your ability, then you score an extra 2 points. If you did play with character abilities, then you got an extra ability. And the player with the most points wins the game. And that's Nocturne here by AEG and Flatout Games. It's almost a tactical bidding game where you will be placing bidding tokens on tiles that you want, or maybe even pretending that you want them to then maybe gain them using up, your token, or by strategically blocking the other player from getting that tile. There's a lot to think about when deciding which tile to bid on, as you have goals and maybe some concoctions that you're trying to fulfill, or maybe just a collection of tiles where you don't want a certain number of them, only a specific number, like those mushrooms where you don't want to have a pair, but you do want to have 3 of the same type to score points. So you are playing a game as to how bad, you or any other players might want the tile that you're bidding on. And then other players after will have to decide if they want to bid and potentially use a token for a tile adjacent to the one that you bid on, because sometimes you don't want any of the surrounding tiles. If you bid, everyone else potentially can pass, and then you're stuck with using your token to get the tile that you don't even want. But the other player might know this and place their token on a spot where they know you don't want any of the surrounding tiles. So this is a tactical or a more strategic part of this game. As you play, you will also decide how much the tiles on the forest sprite board are worth, because as you collect tiles, or if you are, in the second round, you might really need a certain tile. And if it's only available on that board, then all of a sudden that board or those tiles become more important. So you want to let your opponents use up their tokens on, first, tiles that you don't want, second, tiles that they don't want, or tiles that another player, not yourself, needs. So you can try to be strategic in which tiles that you decide to start the bid on, or which tile you decide to continue the bidding on, or what tile you decide to pass on, potentially giving that other player that tile. Then you can set up the tiles so that you can corner cast, which means that when you have the first bid and there is a tile all by itself, most likely in a corner, then you can place your 1 bid token on it. And because other players can't place theirs in increasing the bid, there's no orthogonally adjacent tile, then you automatically win that tile. This is a powerful maneuver giving you a guaranteed win. Just know that when you do this, you also don't have an orthogonally adjacent place to place your next token on it. So play passes to the next player in turn order, and they can then place their bid on any tile in the forest. Ruined stones give you concoction cards, which are like your own goals to get you, tiles of certain icons. Egg tiles create a comparison to who has the most to get the most points for them. Treasure chest will grant negative points, but also might give you that tile that you really want or you really need. You can play solo in this game. You can play over and over again, trying to complete the included achievements. It's a great tactical bidding game with some set collection and something that feels like area control, but not really area control. And the game is available now and is published by AEG and Flatout Games. Again, this is Brody with Let's Table It, where we get games to the table like this one, Nocturne. Please like and subscribe to our channel. We are working hard to bring to you videos like this one, so you know if these games are ones that you want to get to your own table.